So, next is meditation on emptiness, isn't it? Any questions that you might have on that part excluding the translation? Yes?
In page 592,
592.
it says, please press your palms together with respect toward all, not allowing yourself and others to be ruined. Would that mean that all paths tend to enlightenment? I mean, all paths are as valid or something? Or did I take it as something totally different?
No, he's saying to Daksang especially, don't make a mess out of the teaching saying things that aren't true. It's going to ruin yourself and others.
But those things he's saying...
It's a horrible statement in moment.
Okay, I thought what he meant was that he was saying things like one path is different than another. Because later he's also saying that with sutra alone you cannot reach enlightenment, you need tantra. So I don't know why I took those topics together.
No, it's just taking a particularly snide way to put down Daksang. He's saying, I don't know why it says press your palms. And I don't remember or know how Buddha earnestly transmitted the teachings to Ananda. Anyone know the story? Is he just referring in general to Buddha's teaching so much with an Ananda present? The Ananda knew the scriptures well. What is he saying to Daksang? Be respectful of all this that's come down to us and stop making up all this garbage which allows yourself to be ruined, and in the process you ruin others. It's an inflammatory. Friendship is particularly inflammatory with respect to Daksang. Somebody sometime has to translate his refutation of Daksang. First do Daksang's adducing of contradictions against Tsongkhapa, and then do Jayanasheva's refutation of Daksang. And, see whether it's flimsy or what. Then?
With respect to this sutra and tantra, it does seem to say that you need tantra to get to the highest enlightenment, and sutra alone cannot do it.
Yes, in the Gelugpa sort of final system, in order to remove the subtle obstructions to omniscience, it is necessary to manifest, it's necessary to practice highest yoga tantra and to manifest the fundamental innate mind of prayer. And practice that in a conjunction of pure body and pure mind. So the sutra system alone is not sufficient for attaining Buddhahood. So the question is asked, can one attain enlightenment in dependence upon the sutra? The answer supposedly is yes. Only in dependence on sutra? No. But the first one seems to mean that, but then is taken not to mean that. The enlightenment is the same. According to Gelug, the enlightenment is the same. The enlightenment of a Buddha, according to the Sutra system, or of a Buddha or Vajradhara, according to the Tantra system, is the same. To achieve either of the enlightenments described in Sutra or in Tantra, they being the same, one must engage in highest yoga. And the reasons for that are very interesting, but are not germane at this point. So, let's go on to the analysis of going and coming. So, many of the notes in the analysis of going and coming that I've given here are Gelugpa specific. And I suggest that they're not especially needed at this point. Do not try to penetrate them. Do not waste your time at this point trying to penetrate them, because they get you into subtleties that in note number 2 gets into this question between existence and inherent existence and so forth, which we're not going to. We're going to leave till later. Plus, we want the experience of reading the Sanskrit text without the overlay of Iluka interpretation. So then when you overlay it, the overlay is obvious. It's quite clear, even sometimes quite jarring. But some of the notes may be helpful. Like the first note is not helpful because it refers to a point of controversy between Bhavik and Buddhapanta, and I have not given you the appendix. I wasn't ready on it. So anyway, you can see the stanzas are all that Nāgārjuna wrote in the second chapter, and there are 25 stanzas. The last two lines, Candrakīrti places the stanzas in a context. And the context I find to be a lot of fun. Quam, somebody's thinking, non-cessation and so forth have been established as qualities of dependent arisings through the refutation of production, meaning in the first chapter. We did that in the first chapter. You prove that the non-existence of cessation and so forth are qualities of dependent arisings. But still, now the still is like, you know, you have an argument with a friend, and your friend presents a case, a rock-solid case, and then you say, yeah, that's good, but, you know, there's this other side to it, okay? And really, if you take care of production and cessation, you know, what need is there to go on to going, coming, and so forth? Really? You see, but the mind proliferates, and having a reputation of production and cessation and so forth is not sufficient. It's necessary to go on to other topics that happen to catch your mind. But really, refutation of production is sufficient. So the still is nice. Still, in order to establish that dependent arisings have no going and coming, you see, it means, my mind, I'm really impressed with the fact that there's going and coming. And I realize going has to be produced and so forth, but let's just look at going as going. You must deduce some other proofs, not those same ones. Don't give me the same old stuff about production, right? To refute the universally known. Everybody knows there's going and coming, right? If you go to the wrong place, right? Go to some place. Somebody comes into your room when they're not supposed to, and now there's this coming, right? And there's this intrusion into other countries, like armies going from one country to another, right? To refute the universally known actions of going and coming. So, Nāgārjuna is the answer. But of course, this is Candrakīrti speaking for him, right? If there were a definite going, now the word niyatam in Sanskrit is a frozen accusative. Well, niyatam can be a frozen accusative, often is a frozen accusative, in which case it is an adverb. It's an adverb. If there definitely were a go. Then niyatam itself, going, gonam being neuter nominative, niyatam would also be neuter nominative. Nothing to do with accusative, because the nominative and accusative in neuter nouns the same. If there definitely were a going, or if there were a definite going, it would have to be ascribed to the part of the path already gone over. So, okay, I'll take up, this business of considering going and coming. If you're going to go, you're going to have to go somewhere, right? It's either going to be on the part of the path already gone over, which is called gata. The verbal root is gum, and the past participle is gata, having gone. And here it's nominalized to mean not one who has gone, but that which has been gone over. It's quite cumbersome, I think, in English. For a while I translated this as the traversed, but it's a chapter on going and coming. You can't lose the force of the simple term. So that's the area already gone over. Or to that part of the path and not yet gone over. Now this is agata. And you can see the past participle again, the negative, gata. Okay. So it just means not, the not gone over. I made it into the not yet gone over. I wanted to bring it alive a little bit. I don't know if I helped it or harmed it. Okay? In any case, it's agata. Or to that part of the path, or to that part of the path being gone over. Most likely a possibility, right? The Dharamsala. Should have checked my Sanskrit. The ya makes it passive, and the mana makes it a present participle, so it's a present passive participle, the being gone over, Dharamsala. And it's helpful to have the Sanskrit. The Tibetan is song, or soma, ma-soma, and they don't have the richness to be able to squeeze out a present passive participle, so they use the word gomba, which then komba gyap means to put the steps to walk, and gomba artificially. I think artificially. I mean, I can't imagine that it was in the spoken language, really, to refer to the part of the path that is presently being gone over. However, going is not feasible in any of these cases. So, if there's no area being gone over, then there can't be any going. That's the point. We'll analyze going by way of analyzing where going might take place. It has to take place somewhere, and it doesn't take place in these three places. Thus Nāgārjuna says. Now, it's easy to follow the Sanskrit. He says, respectively, the gone over is not being gone over. So already we have gatam, right? The gone over. Na. And then the present passive third person singular. The root is gum, right? Gum. We already learned that ya means is passive, right? And this is third person singular and is passive. So gatam nagamyate. The gone over is not being gone over. And after that, is gatam nagamyate tavat. Tavat, as Candrakīrti says, tavat choknena cha pratishedam kramam darshyate. Tavat indicates a series of negations. I thought for a long time how to translate it. You know, sort of like one for one. Let's consider gatam, agatam, and gamimanam is what he's saying. For one, gatam is not being gone over. Right? For one would say, respectively. Let's consider the three. Then, the second is going to be said just by adding up onto it. Agatam naiva gamyate. Agatam naiva. Not ever. It's not also. Agatam naiva gamyate. These are just statements of, these are theses, negative theses. Reasons are not being set forth at this point, right? And then he says, Gathāgata vidamuktam gamyamanam nagamyate. And the being gone over separate from the going over and the not being gone over. So, the going over is gata. The not yet gone over is agata. So this becomes gathāgata, the combination. Gathāgata. Separate from is vinirmukta. The Tibetan, by the way, for gatam nagamyate tava is reshik, is tava. Reshik, sonla, nidrote. Oh, what kind of a day? Must be that one? I forget. Mason lang now that I took the text away from you. So here's the Sanskrit line, right? And then Gathāgata vidamuktam could be something, now that I took it again. Mason matokpa. Gathāgata vidamuktam gamyamanam nagamyate. So a gamyamanam, a being going over, is not being gone. Nagamyate again. Gatam nagamyate tava. Agatam naiva gamyate. Gathāgata vidamuktam gamyamanam. Gathāgata vidamuktam gamyamanam nagamyate. So, in Sanskrit, there are really two lines. Gatam nagamyate tava, agatam naiva gamyate is one line. But there are two half lines within the line. Gathāgata vidamuktam is the half line of gamyamanam nagamyate. In Tibetan, it's done out as a straight 4 lines. Reshik son vidode, mason lam goame, son the mason madopa, gomba sheva mikyoro. A being gone over, separate from, or, okay, the gone over and the yet to be gone over, is not known. Shebamitra. Whereas in Sanskrit, gatum nagamyate, agatam naiva, na eva gamyate, nagamyate again. Kadagrin motum gamyanam, nagamyate. A third time, nagamyate. But it comes out in, the third one comes out in Tibetan as Sheba. This is because all the three Indian commentaries, Buddhapala, Bhavaveka, and Candrakīrti, take this third gum as meaning to apprehend, to observe, to know. So it's a pun. It's a pun. I mean, I don't know why. I think the Sanskrit, you need to retain the meaning of nagamyate, of is not gono. There are three negative theses talking about the areas that aren't being gono. So the Tibetan translation is done very carefully, dependence on the commentaries, but of course we cannot maintain what I see as the pun in the Sanskrit. I mean, how can you say it? I don't even have to say what I see as the pun. Once he says nagamyate 2 times, then the third time it's also gum you see means realize. The third time also it must mean is not gono. It's not being gone. Okay, here, so then he's just repeating the thesis, but adding in some interesting information here and there. Here, the part of a path on which an action of going has ceased, is called the gono. So, I take my right foot, I was walking from there, so it's that part of the path which relative to my movement this time is my gatam. The verb is being gone over refers to a state of being affected by a present action of going. So that area that I have gone over, you can see, is not being affected by a present action of going, and therefore nagamyate. The going over, the part on which an action of going has ceased, is meaningless if it is uttered as the subject of the verb is being gone over, which indicates the partaking of a present action of going. He's clear. It's called the clear words. Okay? Well, we've already been considering it very carefully, but it may seem to be redundant by this point. This is clear. Therefore, that the going over is being gone over is not feasible. The word respectively, tavat, indicates a series of repetitions. So he's saying it's just silly. He says it's meaningless. And so it is. So you see, where the foot is, if we freeze time, right at this moment, is not where it has already gone over. But not yet gone over is also not being gone over. Why? Because the not yet gone over means a future part of the path. Right, I'm going down there. It means that. On which an action going has not yet been produced, whereas the verb, gamyate, is present. Present, passive, third person singular. Because of the great distinction between the future and the present, it is not feasible that the not yet gone over is being gone over. If something is yet to be gone over, how is it being gone over? If it is being gone over, it is not the not yet gone over. Now, there's nothing paradoxical, odd. You know, this is just simple common sense. The only thing that's odd about it is that it's almost, you almost don't need to say it. Because what you really want to consider is going on the being going on. But you have to eliminate these other less likely possibilities first, so that when you concentrate on the most likely one, the refutation will be decisive, will finish it. And I don't mean refutation between people, it's so that to your own mind, you'll be struck with the force of there isn't even going on the being going over. You won't be thinking, oh, well, it might be on the already going over, or yet to be going over. So you have to, in one way, get used to the slowness of how this proceeds, how the refutation proceeds. There's also no going on the being going over, because the area that the goer has crossed is where his gone over. Also, that he's explaining the term at the beginning of this line is Gathagata, Gatha and Agata. So he's re-explaining these. Okay. Clear words. The area that the goer has crossed is her area gone over. Also, the area that the goer has not yet crossed is her area not gone over. Jumped down to the note and lost my place. We do not see another C, you see, another third part of the path is different from the going over and not yet going over, and that would be called the being gone over. Now, he's just declaring this. We don't see it. It's yet to be proven, right? Since this is so, being gone over is not known. Is not known, gamyate means is not cognized. Thus, there is no being gone over, and therefore it does not partake of an action of going. You see, partake of an action of going, nagamyate, and is not being gone over. Consequently, there is no going and the being gone over. And then somebody says, but come on. The area being stepped on by a foot of a presently going goer is the being gone over, right? If you freeze time, it's that. Come on. It is not so, because the feet are aggregates of particles. Now, this argument is not in Nāgārjuna's text, it's in Candrakīrti's text. I don't have a preference for Nāgārjuna or Candrakīrti. I'm just noticing, okay? The area behind the particle situated at the point of the toes is included within the area going over with respect to that particle. Easy enough, right? Is at my big toe, there's a particle right at the tipmost point, and from its point of view, right? Right there. Then everything under here is going on. Then this particle at the heel, and everything in front of it is agata. Now, if you take any of the particles, right, the area in front, what about the area under that particular particle? Okay? Yeah, then you look at the front part of the particle, which is called the east. So then, even with respect to a particular particle, you break it down into parts, and you get either agatam or gatam. And a huge conglomeration of agatams and gatams there are. And so he's saying a gamimanam that is separate from agatam and gatam is known. You see the force of is not known? Is not known and hence can't be known. This is not a dry exercise, okay? It's not for intellectual conversion or, or just putting down some other system. It's to be struck oneself with, is there no going? Then you begin to get out. Is there no going? And you think, what is that? The area in front of a particle, the heel, is included within the area not yet gone over with respect to that particle. Since there is no foot separate from its particles, there is no being gone over separate from the gone over and the not yet gone over. So what's being said, the system is that our afflictive emotions are built on such definite going, definite area going. You came into my room. Right? It's my room up to this point. You walked over that. I know, I saw it. You can't deny it. Just as a foot is analyzed, so its particles should be analyzed by way of their relation with directions. That is front and back. Eastern, which is front, and Western, which is back. Also, a being gone over that is half gone over and half not yet gone over should be analyzed as the being produced was earlier in the first chapter. This note is helpful. And I don't think Tsongkhapa adds in anything here that's particularly from his own system. Someone might think. So this is harking back to the first chapter on production. The being produced is so-called because an action of production, this is one of the many positions that came up in the first chapter. Because an action of production has been initiated, makes sense, but has not finished. The being, right? The being gone over is so-called because an action of going has been initiated, but it's not finished. And thus is neither already gone over nor not yet gone over. So the being produced is so-called because an action of production has been started, but has not finished, and thus is neither already produced, over, nor not yet produced, that is to say, not begun at all. This also is not feasible. That's what you might think, but it's not feasible. Because of consciousness or anything else, for instance, the basis of the designation, this is being produced, must be posited as the being produced. Okay. And if part is produced and part is not yet produced, half would be produced and half would be not yet produced. All right, that's my opinion, right? You could say, you're just repeating what I've already said. If one thinks that both the produced and the not yet produced have the action of production, then even past and future objects would be being produced. And that's impossible. In which case, all the objects 3 times would be the being produced. So it's impossible for the, you see, I suppose one reason for getting straight Gatam Nagamyate Kava is that Gatam can't be, because it's past, what is being gone on. Does it throw you into a, or about, I don't know about throw you, but following this sort of, this line, would you be thrown into a view of nihilism? Well, then there wouldn't be anything.
I get that feel sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah. I was watching a bus go down the street, and I thought the other day, out of all the particles in the bus, and the travelers had not gone over, it didn't seem like it was possible that anything was moving.
And when you came to, the bus driver was shrieking at you or something? Yes. And thus, is everything stationary? Or how do you rescue any sort of conventional going and coming once you've analyzed this way? It seems to be so decisive. You see, this reasoning, this consciousness that's analyzing in this way, is not finding going. And that's what's supposed to happen.
The commentary says, oh, well, the area unequal, then it would be half and half. But
It's-
that's not the way necessarily logically I'm reading it. I feel like he's positing that it's both.
Oh, both. Why? Because from the point of view of the front particle,
Exactly.
everything
The
behind,
front particle.
and then including the back particle even. And then everything from the front particle, yes. But then the refutation of that is that then the foot would be going over the not yet gone over, this thing which is both not yet gone over and gone over, and yet gamyate is a present action. So you can see why people think Madhyamaka is nihilistic. I mean, you may be stuck in thinking, but there is a good solution. But you can see also how one could have a consciousness that's not finding. It's true. If there isn't any place for going to take place, then there isn't any going. And you're supposed to develop an ultimate consciousness, a reasoning consciousness, that ends up in this non-finding. Some people say this very non-finding is emptiness. Now, well, the degree to which you non-find are there degrees? Or is it, as Richard Robinson says, a shell game? You're saying, well, there can only be 3 areas where you could go. Venus, Pluto, and Mars. You're not going on Venus, you're not going on Pluto, you're not going on Mars, therefore you're not going. You know, make up absurd places that you could be going over. The choice of the 3 places doesn't strike me as absurd at all. Gatam, Agatam, and Dhammayamana. The logic that's used to refute may be absurd, okay? So I don't, if there's a shell game, I don't think it's in the choice of the 3, myself. It would be in the choice of how you get rid of the 3. I don't think it's in the choice of getting rid of Agatam, yet to be gone over, or in Gata. I think it would have to rest in how the Dhammayamana is analyzed. That you analyze it in such a way that it's impossible to find it. Well, if it's fair, that's okay. But if it's not fair, then that's not okay. If it's a shell game, there would be some unfairness that would be creeping in here, right?
Where I find myself getting stuck, somewhat like Ryan, as in the Nāgārjuna, and the idea that there's this foot, which is the thing that's going. But the analysis that he uses breaks the foot down into particles, so that there's the particle at the beginning of the foot, which everything in front of it is not yet gone, everything behind it is already gone, and there's the particles in the back.
It's fascinating.
And all the way in between. And that somehow violates my sense of
foot.
Of what's okay, what's foot, and that's how it gets.
That's what's so great to me here, is that it throws me into thinking about what a foot is.
Yeah.
And it's like destroys foot.
It does that. Yeah, that's right. Gets right back
And you
to the
think,
agency
isn't
of what's
that,
going
you
on.
might think that's extraneous, but even if it is extraneous, I'm having fun
But
not
then
finding my
analysis
foot.
depends on destroying foot.
Yes,
And if you don't accept that,
yes,
then you
Yes,
can't buy
right.
a gummy bottom not
Yes.
being found.
right.
But isn't that the same argument against particles?
Sure.
Hmm.
I mean, it is, but,
But, yes,
but there's that sense that there's a foot. I mean, I can feel it. I still
you see, we're dealing with emotions, really, emotionally head opinions. So, have to be careful. It's not, what's the next topic? It's much better if it's, but goddammit, there's a foot. You follow? It's much better to be there. Later on in the chapter, Candrakīrti says, evam vicharyamanam. When analyzed in this way, there's no going. Does that mean
Sounds like he's
there's some other way?
Oh, what about with not analyzed?
Isn't this rather simple and straightforward? I mean, it's so simple. It's the kind of stuff kids say, isn't it? Often. Thereby it is proved that there is no going on the being gone over. Wow. I mean, that's a whole... If it hits you, it's a tremendous meditation, right in itself. The rest of the chapter isn't needed. Or you can go on to the rest of the chapter in a few months or a week or a few months later, a year later, 5 years later, 10 years later. He's like using the concepts of not yet gone over and gone over to get at going, and yet the absence of going makes the not yet gone over and the gone over impossible. So, is he using notions that we already believe in to undo notions that we believe in, which will in turn undo the notions that he was using? You follow? Mm-hmm. So that's why it's said often, prasannikas have no assertions themselves. They only use what the other person asserts. Or in this case, what I myself, in meditation, what I myself accept. And you can see why. But you see, the impact has to be appreciated. For one thinks, oh, but this undoes cause and effect of karma, moral retribution, undoes all of my practice. Why am I here going to school? Have I ever done anything? You see, the mind is held in sort of like a bunch of magnets left. And this is like taking one of those central magnets and
Isn't that why you have to temper it with dependent arising? Otherwise you fall in stream of nihilism?
well, what do you do? Is that how dependent arising is maintained?
Can you go to Sept?
Yes. But I'm not thinking about that anymore. Just. The Dalai Lama, very interestingly, once a person was asking him a question in Dharamsala many years ago, well, it's probably 20 years ago. And I was translating for him, and he said in English, working with this view, it's like you go, too much nihilism, and you go back, too much, existence, and then it's too much nihilism, it's too much existence, too much nihilism, too much existence. And we sort of want to be, what is that, middle now? It's very, very difficult. And it's, if you throw your mind into this type of analysis, you can see how tremendously difficult it is. Is there a middle? How could there be a middle? So anyway, somebody comes back and says, the being gone over is being gone over. He said, Gadāgadurna-muktam gamyamanam nagamyate. He made that statement. And this person comes back and says, how the emphasis is given there. Where there is movement, cheshta yatra gatis tatra, gamyamane chasa yata, nagade cheshta, gamyamane gatis tataha. Person says, where there's movement, there's going. Makes the, and it is on the being gone over of a goer. Oh yes, the of a goer is a controversial term. It's yatas, which could be a correlative of yatas tatas. Cheshta yatra gatis tatra, kamyamane chasa yataha, nagade cheshta, kamyamane gatis tataha. You see, at the end is a tatas. At the end of the first line, full line, is a yatas. And the second full line is a tatas. Automatically put this together as yatas tatas, which is just the two ends of a reason clause. But some people take yatas as being from the verbal root ya, it must be, go, and yatas is the present active participle. Again, another pun. You see, something that should be a correlative in a because clause. Yatas tatas comes out to mean of a goer. It's not going to figure in the analysis. The analysis won't hinge on it. But I think it's lovely to have another pun. Why not pun in the midst of such a harrowing analysis? So the other night, the Nepalese dancer was talking about the value of doing deity yoga in the midst of activity, not just deity yoga. In which you could be sort of like a painting. But when you're moving, you've got to incorporate being the deity in whatever it is, It's here, folding a page and so forth. And just as, Bill, he's walking down the street and he's incorporating, you see, the analysis of the foot, the analysis of the bus. The particle at the front, I was really moved by it. I didn't show it at the time. I was talking about the particle at the front of the bus, the relation, everything under the bus. From that point of view was Gautama, gone over. And the particle at the back of the bus, everything from that. Just like incorporating it. And even, you can see I've restricted it to feet. Otherwise I wouldn't be so moved. Taxi cabs, think about a plane. Actually, why don't we just go around Not trying to figure out everything, but doing that one thing, right? And you just keep doing it and doing it. Move your head. The head goes. This person, that person, right? Walking on the lawn. Could you get it so you could do many simultaneously? Get it so you have 5 or 10 people on the lawn, and the particle at the foot at the front. Oh, that's easy. Everything behind is got. It's gone. So where is the area that they're presently going over?
Maybe I'm going to the right place. Sort of that feeling that. Wait a minute. There's 2 things. One is if you go out there and try and explain this to someone, I mean, they're trying to get to class and they see a difference between going and.
Yeah, you see, these are the kind of answers we give. But we have to get to class, don't we? This is what's so great about Candrakīrti's commentary. These qualms are like somebody saying, "Oh, we gotta go to class." And then you start analyzing in the midst of that, this one is going to class. Does it mean you stop going to class? Because you can't find the area presently being gone over? So, next time we'll go on from there, page 5. It's said that when you first start doing it, it's like losing something you have. Whereas when you get used to it, it's like finding the jewel that you lost. But you can't jump to that phase.